first Korean American Youth Mentoring Program hosted by the Federation of the Korean Associations of the Southeast USA. Mainly the new event, NEW, Navigation Empowerment Workshop. My name is Hana. I am currently serving as the General Counsel for the Federation of the Korean Association of the Southeast USA. Today we are going to have a very, very exciting program. I am personally very, very excited about today's event, not only because this is the first youth mentoring program hosted by the Korean Federation, but also today we are going to have a very interactive program. So I would encourage each one of you to step up and actively participate in a panel and other discussions, including the small group discussion and breakout sessions as well. I trust that everybody has a copy of the event program, so I'm not going to bore you with all the details. So I'm going to just jump right in and first introduce the president of the Korean, the Federation of the Korean Association of the Southeast of the USA, Mr. Ki-hwan Kim, for his opening remarks for today's event. Please welcome President Kim.
My name is Ki-hwan Kim. I'm the president of the Southeast Korean Associations USA. I'm very happy to see you, all of you here today. And today we have today we are honored to have 7 great mentors with us. And each of them has a pure and successful path in their field. And they are here to inspire and guide you. And they will share their personal story and how they achieve success in their career. I believe this is the wonderful opportunity for you to learn and gain new insight. When I was your age, I don't have mentors or somebody to give me advice. I struggled to figure out when I was the next step to should be after high schools and college. That is why we created this program to support young people like you. I hope today's workshop will give you a helpful idea for the future, and please feel free to ask any question and learn as much as you can from the mentors. Maybe it will help you decide your major and your career path. Thank you for being in here, and I wish you all of the best luck and great success in your future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Kim. We have a very important guest here today, so I am going to present to you a very, very special guest for today's event, representing the Republic of Korea, the Korean government. His Excellency, Consul General Sang-pyo Seo. Please welcome Consul General Seo.
Good afternoon. Today's light is good. Light is readable for my speech papers. Remember that it was 10 years ago when I was invited to the Washington for the seminar on the Korean-U.S. economic relations. So I prepared 20 or 30 pages of my presentation note, and I walked up to the podium and opened my paper, but suddenly I can see anything because the light is too dark. So I don't know. I heard the speech more than 10 minutes, but it was a very terrible memory. So since then, we have a good, a couple of years. Next couple of years, I bring the portable lamp for that. But right now, I'm carrying that iPad. It has right itself. So I'm like your classes, sometimes they can't fun to us. So anyway, this afternoon is a very good afternoon. And thank you for Representative Su come to this event, and Dr. Ju, thank you for that, and other mentors. Very valuable opportunity for the young Korean Americans for their future exploration. So first of all, I congratulate the first navigation empowerment workshop hosted by the Federation of Korean Association of the Southeastern United States. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our students and parents who attend this workshop. I was told from the 5 southeastern states on this very valuable Saturday afternoon. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the President of Federation of Korean Association of the Southeastern U.S. and the members, and also the mentors. They have graciously offered their time to help empower our Korean American youth in leadership and career explorations. In recent years, the Korean American community in the southeastern United States, especially around Metro Atlanta, has been experiencing remarkable growth. Beyond just population growth, this region has become a key hub for Korea-US economic cooperation, attracting various businesses and investment, and also creating thousands of jobs. Last week, some of you know that Atlanta hosted the 23rd World Korea Business Convention, where global Korean business leaders and Korean government officials, together with the American counterparts, gathered to foster partnership and investment. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of first and second generation immigrants, Korean American community now has risen to the U.S. mainstream society, and the future of this community in the next couple of decades will be shaped by youth, the young people here today. Each of today's mentors has achieved recognition in mainstream American society in the fields of law, politics, science and technology, music, education, and entrepreneurship. I guess even though Korea now has grown into a global economic powerhouse, being a minority in the United States still comes with some challenges to the young Korean Americans. With these, with the stories of guidance of these renowned mentors, I hope today's workshop will give you a chance to reflect how to develop your future career and make your dream come true. Once again, thank you to the Federation and our mentors for making this event valuable and possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General. My role today is quite limited. Stated differently, I'm not going to run the entire program. First of all, this is an interactive program, so all of you are going to drive the bus, if you will. But first, let me introduce to you a very, very talented speaker, a dedicated public servant, and an excellent attorney. And he's going to lead the panel discussion and keynote session to be followed by the small group mentoring sessions, also to be followed by the closeout session. So I'm going to see you on the floor while you are engaging in some interactive discussion. But once again, let me introduce to you great dedicated public servant, excellent attorney, and a talented speaker, Mr. Han-sung Chung, the managing prosecutor representing the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office. Please welcome Mr. Chung.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Mr. An. Much undeserving description of me, if you will. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Han Chung. As Mr. An's kind introduction, much undeserved the way described. I'm Han Chung. I'm with the District Attorney's Office here in Gwinnett County. I'm a prosecuting attorney, meaning my job is to mainly enforce the criminal laws that the Georgia legislature, one of which who we will meet soon, designs. But it is an absolute honor for me to be a moderator for the distinguished panel that will soon take the stage. And it is my sincere hope that all of the youths and the parents in attendance today, as well as the moderators, as well as us keynote speakers ourselves, take something valuable home with us when we walk out that door. So, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the panelists who grace us with their attendance today, starting with Mr. David Chu, Dr. David Chu, as well as Professor Sung Jang Chan, Dr. Pyong or PK Park, Representative Sue Hong, Dr. Nuri Chung, and Ms. Eunice Kim, as well as Professor Grace Kim. If you could guys please go on and come on up, please. This portion of the program is designed is I'll ask a question, as well as in advance having gotten some questions from the audience. I'll go ahead and start off with a few questions, and each of the panelists, if you could please give us your thoughts on the questions. And then of course, we've got one mic with us, so perhaps what I'll do is for the first few members of the panel, we've got two, thank God. All right, so it looks like we've got two mics. So without further ado, given that members of the panel that we're here primarily along with high school students who hopefully one day will get to the positions that you might be in. The first question is, starting from, let's say, high school, how does one get into the position that you are in? And I think we'd like to start with Dr. Chu, Professor Chu. If you could please tell us, starting from high school, how does one get to your position, sir?
Can you hear me? In the back? Okay, thank you. I don't know, I'm 83 years old, so hard to remember the high school, but I think, my family came from the North Korea, and I was born in 1941, and so which means I'm just 84 and 83 and 84, and my family came from North Korea, and which means staunch anti-communist, and but my father, I have a long story to tell you, but I think today is time constraint. But my father graduated from Japanese University in Tokyo, and in law, but he couldn't find a job, so he went to another college that specializing mining engineering, because his father was a rich man. His father was very rich in North Korea, and so he thought that he can use that money to, have a mine business all over the country. So that was the 1930s, and he did it, and then finally he found a place, mine in Gangwon-do, and he was doing mining business over there. But in the meantime, my mother died, 1944, and then he came to Pyongyang, North Korean capital right now, and then he brought me to the Gangwon-do, and then I started having life in South Korea. That was in 1944. And then, unfortunately, my father died 1947. And then I had to, my sister was married and in Seoul. She took me to the Seoul, and then I was brought by my sister and my brother-in-law. And then after Korean War, and I graduated what do you call middle primary school at that time, and then entered the Gyeongbok Middle School, and from there on I spent 6 years in Gyeongbok High School, and then that was very good for me to open up the further opportunity at the Seoul National University, and after the military service, I came to the United States in 1968, and that was the brief story about me.
Yes, sir. But how did you get into your position from starting from maybe high school?
Yeah, as I said, I came to United States as a graduate student, and then I finished up my master's degree in Idaho State University, and then moved on to State University of New York at Buffalo. That's the way I finished my PhD. And then I had a postdoctoral research at the Sloan Kettering Institute for Cancer Research in New York. And after that, then I found a job at the University of Georgia. That was 1982. I came to the University of Georgia in 1982. From there on, I started from assistant professor to full professor.
Thank you for the explanation. If you could please have the next Professor Chang explain to us, if you could please sort of briefly introduce yourself and how one got to your position from high school.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this place and this event. And then I'm always nervous to speak in English in front of the majority of the Korean people here. Because my English still has some sort of things. My children always made the point, "Oh, Daddy, that is not correct pronunciation," and so on. But I try. I will do my best here to deliver the things here. My high school time was not quite easygoing time. My father used to work in newspaper company. Probably many of you remember this name, Gyeongyang. And then at the time I had no worry about anything, but suddenly he quit the job, and then he started his own business. It didn't went well. And then suddenly the entire family got into some financial problem. And then after that, I always had some worry, some concern in my mind. And how to get over this difficult type of things. And then my high school time, so I don't have much memory except for the thinking of that. I need to endure this time that I had to move forward to the future. So that was the only motivation, and also always through that financial issues, I always think about how to keep our family in love and with really good shape. So that was always the first prayer in my Christian life. And then after that, I got into Seoul National University. It was a really good opportunity for me. And then because of the financial issues again, so I had to had a lot of part-time tutoring jobs, and then also tried to get some scholarship. And then after graduation, I just went to the graduate school, master's degree and PhD, all in Korea, same place, same campus. So probably sounds like it's too long time for almost everyone. So now more than 11 years, I just stayed in Seoul National University, and then I, because of military duty, I went to Samsung Electronics and worked there for 2 years, and then I made a decision, big decision in my life. I need to go to US for more opportunities. Then my wife gratefully agreed with me on this movement, big movement. So in my entire family, 4-member family, 2 children, 1 wife and 1 husband. So we came to the U.S. As a visiting scholar. And that was the Caltech in California, Pasadena. And then I stayed there 6.5 years. Always the sort of, whenever I encountered some sort of a big difficulty in my career development, was it a good decision or not? I always ask that question, but without having any certain answer from my atmosphere and environment. Frankly speaking, I had to pray, and then that was the only thing I got from my Lord, and then it was really only backup for me. And then after 6.5 years in Caltech, I applied a position in many universities, and then Georgia Tech invited me. So that's the sort of a short story. And then again later I will share my personal sort of experience with my precious undergraduate student and graduate student in Georgia Tech. And then I would like to share some number of ideas I got from my conversation and also activities with my students. That's it.
Professor, were there any tests that you had to take to get to where you are? Like, at the very least, I'm sure to get to grad school, you have to take some sort of a test. Is there a test or a license a professor has to obtain to become a professor?
Oh yeah, I mean, for the professor position, probably Professor Chu can give you more information, but in my 18 years experience from academia, so there is no test for faculty position, but there have been always some sort of exams or tests for qualification up to the PhD course. So that should be sort of everywhere in the world nowadays. Pretty much a standard in Korea, US, or any European countries. Yeah, there is always tests.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And again, if you please briefly introduce yourself and how does one get to your position from high school? Professor Chung.
I'm not a professor, but I'm
Dr. Chung, I'm sorry. Please.
Thank you. So my name is Nuri. It's really an honor to be here because I see many of you remind me of how I was when I was 15 coming into this country for the first time alone. I was an exchange student from a small city called Suncheon in Jeollanam-do, Korea. And coming here, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any family members. In fact, it was my first time, first person in my family to travel abroad. And so I think the one story that really captures how I handle all the life's transitions, which is repeated over and over again, and you'll see that a lot in your career transitions, is, my first year in the US, I wasn't fluent in English. I wasn't aware of the cultural differences and all of that stuff. I was put into a junior class in high school, and this class that was particularly difficult for me was US history and literature. I didn't know what I was, doing in that class because I was never taught that before. And after getting a D, as a Korean, my mom would be surprised. Like I got my first D for the first time in class. But after the first semester, I did that first quarter, report that had a D. This teacher sat me down and said, why don't we just try something different? Why don't we try a different, maybe a easier class? You shouldn't say that exactly, just making sure that I wasn't offended. But basically what came down to is like, why don't I put myself in an easier game mode, right? And in the moment, I thought to myself, that would make my life so much easier because I don't have to stay up all night studying and trying to decipher, how to translate these words into something I can understand. But then on the other hand, my other part of my thought process went like this. If I didn't face this challenge right now, I wouldn't have the courage to face that again next time. If I didn't face this now, I wouldn't try this again. It would be so much harder for me to try again. And I stuck it out and ended that class with an A. And I tell you this not just to, basically brag about myself, but it's really about how I handle every single challenge, whether it be financial, legal complications, career uncertainty, what have you. It's all based on how I saw it. And once I changed the way I looked at my situation and what opportunity for growth there was for me, I changed and I was able to pivot and I was able to adapt. And coming into Atlanta, after years of studying in a lab, trying to be a neuroscientist, now I have a PhD in neuroscience from Emory. My paper was just published 2 weeks ago in Nature. You may be aware that it's one of the best journals in the neuroscience field. And I'm proud of that work, and I did a lot of hard work for that. Everybody thought that I was going to go into academic route, but I didn't because I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I always had the entrepreneurial mindset. I wanted to do things on my own way, and that's what turned me into an entrepreneur. That mindset. Nobody had to approve me or being an entrepreneur. Nobody had to give me a grant of permission to do that. I made a decision to do something different for my life, and that turned me on a different path. And I believe that that's consistent. It has been consistent across my entire life journey so far. So I'm happy to share more about that later.
And for those of us who may not be as familiar with Goals Unhindered, could you just briefly introduce Goals Unhindered?
Yes, so Goals Unhindered is actually titled after my graduate dissertation research. It's really about seeing the data, the same data that you may have, differently, so you can make a better decision about what you do with it. We have a ton of data that's out there, and data is not just something, numbers or maths that's hard to understand. It's actually something that you see. Everything that meets your eye, text, video, images, all of that is data point. It can be considered a data point. And what you do with that is going to change your life. And I teach teams and leaders how to use data more effectively so that they can make better decisions for their business. And so Goals Unhindered is about, I do coaching as well, but it's a corporate training company to help people make better decisions with data and also turn their life around by reframing how they see it.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Eunice Kim. And ma'am, same with you. Just briefly, if you could introduce yourself as well as your journey from high school to now.
Sure. My name is Eunice Kim, and thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm really excited to be here with you. So I went to high school in New York City. I was born in Korea, but I grew up in New York City most of my life. And I went to a nationally recognized, very competitive high school called Stuyvesant High School, where a lot of Nobel Prize winners and celebrities went. And it was a specialized high school for math and science. And I was good in those subjects, but during high school, I found a passion, and that was musical theater and singing. And so after graduating, I really wanted to pursue that, but my family, they didn't support that at that time, and then so I shelved it. But I think in my heart, that was something that I really wanted to do. But that led me into a very organic and non-linear journey of where I am today. And I just want to say there are folks in this panel that have been very focused in being a lawyer or a doctor. My journey has been very broad and eclectic and non-linear, and I think for some of you, you may not know, I don't know what I want to do, and I just want to explore. I just want to encourage you. We are all uniquely created, and there's something that you can do, and especially really tapping into the purpose that's in you, that's within you. And I think for me, what's made a big difference is I didn't come from a faith background, and I became a Christian later in life. And I think becoming a Christian, my identity was really formed being a Jesus follower. And then from there, I think all the things that I've done, so I went to Columbia for undergrad and grad school, and I studied architecture. And I wanted to find a major that used both sides of your brain. And so it was creative, and it was analytical and scientific. And so while I was exploring architecture, I realized I can make a difference in the world by designing spaces for people, and not just people that can afford it, but people. I did missionary voluntary work where I went to developing countries to help them to develop design orphanages and then schools. But that led me, and I didn't stay in architecture, but I did work for Star Architects, where we won lots of awards for commercial, retail, residential, and institutional projects. But that led me into, as what the thread is, always I went where the impact was and the influence. And I think what I learned through architecture school and being an architect is that I'm a problem solver, and that's a transferable skill, and so that led me to a lot of different industries. So that also led me into fashion. I was a fashion buyer at a very prestigious company, Bergdorf Goodman, and it's in the same conglomerate of Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus. And that door was open not because I studied fashion, but because of my transferable skills of using both sides of my brain, and also relationship skills. And then that also led me to Omnicom, which is a famous marketing agency, and I was a brand architectural strategist there. And then that also led me to actually transportation and the public sector at Port Authority in New York, New Jersey, where I actually redeveloped airports. So when you go to New York, JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark, I had a hand in some of the redevelopment there. And then that also led me, and then also World Trade Center, and then that also led me to work for the railroad industry, Amtrak. And then I worked on a new station in Hudson Yards, across from Penn Station, Moynihan Train Hall Station, and then that also opened the doors for government, because when you work on a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project, you have to work with the federal government, the state, and the city. And then that's when I went into New York City Mayor's office, working for the Deputy Mayor for Economic Development and Housing. And then that's when I was exposed to really influencing and making policies, and then helping organizations that would impact millions of people. And then that also led me to other connections where I was led to help a global tech startup in developing smart factories. And then so I worked mostly in New York and San Francisco. And then for family reasons, I moved to Georgia. Lucky me, I moved here a few years ago, and it's actually really changed and transformed me even more because the creativity, like the creative career that I've sought after, even though I've been doing that, infusing that in all the things that I've done, but I think it's coming full circle, even though I've been in different sectors, but where I am right now, I founded Eunice Spaces, and that is really, I do consulting and advisory work, and I work alongside influential leaders and then also companies, and also I'm helping with transforming not just physical space through real estate development and economic development, and also emotional and social space, and trying to tackle the connection crisis. So I think having said that, all the things that I've learned along the way, it's all been using problem solving, transferable skills, and also it's really developing great relationships. And so I'm really thankful for the mentorship that I receive, and then also just the opportunities are there for all of you, and I'm no special than all of you. And so it's just really being curious and taking initiative, and also, and the fact that you're here, that you're curious about learning more. And so I look forward to you guys surpassing all of us in achievement, and so I'm looking forward to knowing you. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hong, Representative Hong, the same question. If you could please briefly introduce yourself and tell us your journey from high school forward to now.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sue Hong. I'm a state representative. I represent Gwinnett and Hall counties. I'm also an attorney. I've been an attorney for almost 17 years now, and enjoy both jobs very much. And I feel like, with my friends, it's very hard to say that. And I want to tell you that my dad always said, it's not where you start, it's where you end. So when I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an engineer. I was interested in law. I was interested in politics. I was interested in music. And I had friends who were like, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to be a lawyer. And I was always stressed because I could not figure out what I wanted to do. And so I ended up going to Georgia Tech, and I did a bunch of internships. I interned at the Capitol. I interned at a law firm. I, got jobs here and there. Just whatever kind of drew me to that interest, I went and did it so that I can kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Even when I graduated college, I took 2 years off before I went to law school and traveled the world and just said, I'm gonna work and save up money and travel and kind of figure out what I want to do with my life. So if you are in high school like I was and stressed about what you want to do and you can't figure out what you want to do, don't stress too much because it's going to come to you. And I would say lean into what interests you and try to go to those things and see if you can get experience. That is probably a lot different of advice that you get, especially for Asian Americans, because your parents always want you to kind of figure out what you want to do with your life and where you're going to college and what you're going to do for your career. And that's just never been my journey. And even going into politics, I'm serving my second term, which is my third year. I didn't really think about running for office. I've been an attorney. I got very involved with the state bar, lawyer associations. I've been president of county bar associations and things like that, and really enjoyed it. And that kind of opened up a door for an attorney who was a legislator who reached out and asked me if I was interested in running for office and representing kind of the people that I believe that I can represent here in Gwinnett County. And so whenever you're kind of leaning into and enjoying the things that you do, I strongly believe that doors are going to also open for you that are right for you. And so I never force anything. I always try to do my best of whatever I'm doing, and those doors are always going to open for you when it comes to that time. And you know, the fact that you guys are here on a Saturday, and whether it's been forced by your parents or whether it's voluntary, it says a lot more about you guys. It's definitely a lot more than I did when I was in high school. So it's great that you guys are interested and you guys are kind of trying to figure out what you want to do. But again, you know, if you have that kind of initiative, I think it's going to take you places and it's going to land you places where you're meant to be. And I have friends that have gotten into careers and changed careers, and that's because different doors open and your interests may change. So just remember that and don't stress. Life will work things out. And I'm 44 years old. I'm still figuring it out, even though I have a career and all of those things. And what door is going to open up for me next, I don't know. And I'm always trying to figure that out myself. So, and thank you, President Kim, this is great. I grew up here. I was born in Korea. I came to Georgia when I was 10 years old. There weren't too many Koreans or Asians here when I was growing up. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have groups like this. I didn't have anybody that I can turn to that may look like me and that may have the same journey as me. And I think that's also important. And don't let that make you be in a bubble either. Go outside of that as well and explore different people, different culture, and different opportunities that are out there.
Representative Hong, you said you were an attorney. Are there like tests that you have to take in order to become an attorney?
Yeah, too many. You have to take an LSAT to actually get into law school, and then you have to take the bar, which is, I don't know, it may have changed now, but it's a 2-day process in order to actually become an attorney, a practicing attorney. And most people say after law school, and law school's 3 years, and after law school, you have to take the bar and of law because we're constantly practicing different laws that come. So as a state representative, I'm in the legislative process, but as an attorney, I'm in the judicial process as well, meaning I make the law, but as an attorney, I have to practice what that law is. And so every year we pass different laws and it may change. And as an attorney, we have to keep up with what's changed in the law as well.
Thank you, Representative. And we have with us Ms. Grace Kim. Ma'am, we have the same question for you, ma'am. If you could please briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your journey to now from high school.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I was not on the poster, but I actually wanted to volunteer because I can probably resonate my experience with some of you. First, I would like to start with asking a question. Who has 4.0 right now? 4.0? The second question, 3.0? 3.0? Anybody under 3.0? You guys are too shy. First, it's okay. First, I would like to say I didn't follow the careers like as many of the Korean parents wanted you to be. Most Korean parents want you to be a doctor or lawyer or all A students. But I was totally opposite. I'm an outlier. I don't want to say this, but I did skip some of the high school days. I didn't go to school. I didn't feel some of the subjects were very fun. I didn't go to school. But one thing I know that I had passion. I had passion for music, art, fashion. So that's where my career began. Currently, I'm a fashion marketing and luxury brand management professor at SCAD Atlanta. So I teach students how to create social media marketing. Also, I teach students create buying simulation. I also teach luxury brand management. We have a graduate program. So I do very different things. And if you look at my background, referring back to high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, basically. And I was not an all A student. Everyone here is probably all Ivy League school, wonderful, follow the rules, very good daughter, sons. But I was, if you think of somebody like me skipping school, that's not good. But I was passionate about my career, and also I'm an outlier. So, it's okay if you don't have all A's, or if you have B. As long as you have a passion for career, you can make it. I was a brand manager for a cosmetic brand called Paul & Joe, and I also was a buyer for golf apparel Ian Potter, and I was also marketing manager for flooring industry. I also worked in Korea. I also started my beauty business, which I terribly failed. So I didn't have any money in the bank account, and I really didn't know what to do. So I had a time that I had to work in a restaurant, I had to work as a manager at a salon, so very diverse career. But I went to Georgia State, I studied music, and I changed my major to business management. And then I couldn't find a job that I wanted. If you really think about Georgia, there's not enough unique companies. We do have Porsche, Coca-Cola, Delta, fashion, we have Spanx and Carter's, but not many brands here. We do have some Google and Facebook small offices here. So I ended up going to Korea looking for a job because I want to work in the cosmetic industry. So there, I ended up going to graduate school, focusing on marketing. I came back and I was a flooring manager for quite a bit of time, and I didn't like it. It's so boring. So I went back to Korea, become marketing manager for beauty industry. And as I said earlier, I terribly failed on my own business. So while I was working at a restaurant, I did have experience of teaching in academia for 12 years, by the way. When I was working in a restaurant, there was one customer, and he said he works at SCAD, and he is a chair of fashion marketing department. He used to work at Valentino and Gucci, and while I was working at a restaurant, I introduced myself to him. And then I did have experience in the fashion and cosmetic industry. So actually he offered me a job at SCAD. So here I am. So I've been here 6 years. I love my job. Last year I won a presidential scholarship and I researched K-pop infused fashion marketing. My job is so fun. All I did was look at what celebrities wearing and do research. So one thing I want to say is follow your passion, and one thing I'm really good at is being there. I don't miss work. When I say something, I deliver. And there are a lot of bits and pieces of me that I want to improve on, but I want to be a mentor for students that did not have a guidance, because I did not have any guidance because my parents are from South Korea and they never worked here before, so they can't really give me a guidance. And I would like to provide some other way you guys can build your confidence. And I'm happy if you want to send me a portfolio during summer. This is the first time I'm not working, so I can maybe look at your portfolio. Would like to give some feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next, we have with us Dr. Park. Dr. Park, the same question to you, sir. If you could please briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your journey from high school forward.
Thank you so much for inviting me as one of the mentors. And 6 months explained many good things. Firstly, when I came to here, I met my friend, and then he let me know, please go to the VIP seats. But I told him, oh, that is not familiar with me. I think I'm VOP, very ordinary person. So I am not satisfied with the seats. Because I believe, you asked them. When I look back my high school student's life, I'm not good at mathematics, English like that. You got the 4.0. Yeah, what wonderful. I had a lot of D or E. So my wife when she watched my transcript, she told me, "Oh, I'm married with Yanga Tech," which means that there are so many Yanga. So DE. So no, yeah, you can say that. Yeah. But yeah, I studied and my friends always ask me, "Oh, how did you get the degree at the university in USA?" I don't know. Everything is God's grace. So what I wanna say is that please ask yourself, what do you wanna be? Firstly, can you answer yourself? But I wanna change this question. What do you wanna do? I think this is really important for me because some people wanna be like president or doctors, like lawyers, like that. However, after becoming a president, what do you do? Becoming a doctor, what do you do? Just making money? No, you need to know that what you need to do. Although I was a very ordinary person, I was always wanna be a musician. And while studying my degree, sometimes I really struggled. Oh, what about my position? What I need to do? What I can do? If you follow only positions, you may be depressed. Because it is quite difficult to open doors. However, if you know yourself what you can do or what you want to do, you can endure the time. You can wait for opening the door or you can making for the door, like founders. So please don't follow the positions. And secondly, I want to say this one, yeah, please do not limit your ability. As I mentioned, yeah, I was a young at that, so many DE. However, I just wanted to do something to do. And I wanted to check, some people thankfully has interest in orchestra and music. Orchestra conductors are really struggle to find their position. And when I was in Korea, I wanted to check, I want to check myself whether I can be a conductor or I can conduct orchestra members. One day, when I studied at Rutgers University, it was my first time to ask my professor, would you write a recommendation for me? And she wrote something. And he told me, please go to my office and then please take yours. I went to his office, but the letter was not sealed, which means that please open. So I opened and I read the letter. It was my first time reading the first recommendation. I worried, I nervous, what did he say? And then he mentioned later on, PK has talent. So when I go back home, I told my wife, hey, American people are so kind, yeah, they are lying. As I mentioned, I'm a VOP. I never thought I have gifting. And I couldn't finish the degree, master's degree at the Rutgers, and then moved to Georgia State University. And one day I also asked him, would you write my recommendation? He also opened the recommendation. I watched the same word. He is naturally talented. And I also told my wife, see, American people are so kind. They are encouraging their students. And when I studied at University of Georgia, I also asked my professor. He told me he's naturally talented. After that, I recognized that, the talent is given from God. We cannot control the talent or the gift. But if you know what you want to do, and if you do not give up, God may give you the talent and the gift, and then you can walk to achieve something. And one day, as a VOP, I may have a seat. You may have a seat with the others. So please remember two things. From now, what you want to do, not what you want to be. And please don't limit your ability. You will be much, much better than now, I believe. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Park, in order to be a conductor, particularly at somewhere like Lawrenceville Symphony Orchestra, is there an application process? Is there like a certification process? How does one get to that place?
Thank you so much for asking me that point. I applied more than 100 positions to get the position. And some music director told me, oh, I cannot choose one you because your ability not is assistant conductor. For some orchestras like Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, when I applied there on, they told me you need some experience as an assistant conductor. So what I can do? I cannot do anything. But one day I really wanted to conduct orchestra rather than becoming an orchestra, a conductor. So that's why one day when I meet Natalie Cho, she's my friend, and Seminaga as well, they recommended me, oh, please meet the Lawrenceville Art Center, and they may open you. And I met some board members, and I asked them, what about, could we have a partnership together with my orchestra? I was surprised. They agreed. Yeah, of course there are some stories, but I wanna say everything. They opened the door. I really appreciate that one because I always am confident. If I have a chance, so like this, if I conduct the New York Philharmonic Orchestra or Atlanta Symphony Orchestra now, after 10 minutes, I can go without any hesitate. I feel I'm ready now. And any piece, if I studied, okay, I can conduct now. So please be ready and please do what you wanna do, and then don't knock the doors. You may open the door.
Thank you so much. And just to briefly, I suppose, introduce myself as well. I know that as a prosecutor, prosecuting, so my job is to enforce the laws that Ms. Hong creates with the General Assembly, and then she also tells me how I am to enforce that law. So in the manner that she tells me to enforce the law, that is how I enforce the law. So generally, I lead a prosecution team where crimes occur in Gwinnett County, so such as murder, rape, armed robberies, the most violent offenses. I lead a prosecuting team where we, along with the police department, we arrest, indict, convict, and make sure that the offenders stay in prison. That's a very rigid sounding job. And you might not believe me when I say this particularly because of my face, but in 9th grade, my dream was to be a K-pop star. So, I know, right? Like with your face, you need a lot of work, man. You're probably thinking that at the time. And then when I realized that I'm a decent singer, but I'm not much of a dancer. So then I thought, well, I want my second dream, which was to be a pro gamer. So I'm 40 years old, so any Korean kid my age all grew up addicted to a game called StarCraft, right? All day long, all night long, right? We played so much StarCraft, and I was pretty good. Until one summer I went to Korea, and then the lowest ranked kids were beating me. Because I was the #1 in my high school, Charuchi High School, where I went in Alpharetta growing up here. So I was like, okay, pro gamer's not gonna cut it. So I figured, well, what else am I good at? I wasn't good at anything except maybe talking a little bit. So I know I'm gonna be a lawyer. And then somehow, because that's all I can do, that is what ultimately brought me here today. So that is my journey from high school forward to where I am at now. One of the questions that I had, again, staying the theme of high school, and this is the last question of where we remain in high school, so to speak. If you could meet your high school self, let's say 16-year-old self, is there an advice that you wish that you had known when you were 16 years old? Starting with Professor.
Let me interject briefly to let you know that I'm going to walk around with the mic in case you have a question, so that we can make this session as interactive as possible. So if you do have any question, please raise your hand. First, you need to be recognized by the moderator, Tony Chung, and then identify yourself by your name and your affiliation or school, and identify a specific speaker to whom your question is directed. So I'm going to walk around with the mic.
If you could please begin, go ahead. And if you had an advice for your 16-year-old self, what would it be?
Yeah, I think, success doesn't come just right away. So it's a long process. So you have to have a good habit while you are young, probably before college. So I think my advice to young aspiring Korean high school students, I think you have to have a steady and and then you have to have a stable person, and then try to do your best always. And I have some advice while I'm talking. Next session, I have a bunch of advices to young people. But I think one of the best one is to do your best always.
Thank you, Professor. Any other mentors interested in sharing an advice, what they might tell themselves at age 16? Okay. And then we'll move on to the students who might have some questions.
Okay, well, I'll say that just trust the process. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing when I was first arrived in this new world called America. And I think I tried way too hard to try to fit in. And what does it mean to be fitting in? I think what an older me would have seen is just seeing how you can talk about belonging and all these cultural awareness and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you don't wait for a seat at the table. You create the table. You create the world. You create the space in which you can create your own experience. So I would just say, trust the process. You are here for a reason. You are learning something new, and you are developing to be improving. Whatever you're doing that gets you to the next step.
Are there any other mentors? The 16-year-old self question before we move on.
Yes. So I wanted to encourage you to take risks, and I think I started taking risks later in life, but I think allowing yourself to fail, whatever failure looks like. For me, failure was I was pretty academic oriented, and then failing was getting a B in a test, and then that really made me miserable because because my GPA could never recover in some ways. And it sounds really silly, but that B really stung. But I think just failing and also getting back up, because I think what happened, and I didn't learn to get back up right away in this sense. So just allowing yourself to fail and take risks, and then in addition, networking, not just connecting with people and just being curious, whether it's developing relationships with your teachers or even other parents, just relationship building and communication skills. that will really come a long way in the world and just being a human, because you just need each other to work together and to make an impact together. So.
Thank you. Any other mentors before we move on? Dr. Park?
I want to encourage you, please draw your future chart. I did that one, and sometimes I remember that point. I mean, please, now you are 16, and about 4 years later, I'm gonna graduate to this A university, and then about 2 or 3 years later, I'm gonna graduate your master's degree, and I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the company, or I'm gonna go to the internship, something like this. Please draw your future. And you don't have to keep that on, but your brain will remember that on. And then you may check yourself one day, about 5-10 years later. Oh, yes, right, I wrote that on, and what I'm doing now. So you can check yourself, and then you can walk with the direction what you want to do.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Any brave souls who wants to share a question with any of the mentors on the panel? I mean, you're here, so you might as well ask away, right? Whether you wanted to be here or your parents forced you to be here. Raise your hand. Oh, I see some visioning going on. Well, I already have some received in writing, so why don't I start with that first while we all muster up some courage, because there's gotta be a question you want to ask, right? And this is a real interesting question for Ms. Hong. And I mean, this is a very interesting question, Ms. Hong. Are you ready? Are there certain laws that you think are illogical or incompatible with one another, right? And if so, how would you change it? What is the biggest challenge of being an attorney?
Are there laws that are illogical against each other? Is that the question?
Or incompatible with one another?
So there are a lot of laws, and I also serve on the Judiciary Committee. So you guys should have learned this in school, but the process is when how a bill becomes law is somebody like me, like a representative, says, "I want this to be law." I file it with the clerk, and it gets assigned to a committee. So a lot of those bills get assigned to Judiciary Committee, because Judiciary Committee is dealing with a lot of the laws. And so, and then it has to go through the committee, and it has to pass, and then it has to go on the floor of the House or the Senate. It has to pass both House and the Senate. And then the governor has to sign it at the end in order for it to become law. So, there are a lot of laws and there are a lot of bills that are filed each year. And being in judiciary, oftentimes I ask, isn't this already law? Or doesn't this go against what we already have? And so, I think there are certain, attorneys like yourself, prosecutors, defense attorneys, attorneys that practice in every area, they may come and tell us, hey, if you pass this, then that's going to go against what we already have. And so sometimes we don't catch it, sometimes we don't know it, because there are so many laws in the books. Legislators each year. So I would say probably each year we do see something, whether it be a duplicate or whether, hey, this doesn't go together, and so therefore we have to fix it. And that is the part that I love the most about being a state representative, probably because of my law background and hearing from my lawyer friends and telling me that there are changes that we need to do. And there may be something that we pass and that's signed into law 1 year, and then we have to come back and fix it because we realize, hey, there was one word that we shouldn't have included because that goes against something that we already have. And so, it's a process, right? It's a fun process, and like I said, attorneys like Mr. Chung are the people that come to us and say, we can't prosecute this person because you guys did this and this goes against this. So, and just very shortly, there was something that came up this year. We had sex trafficking laws that many of the bills that we did for sex trafficking I passed in the last 3 years. And there is something in the law that says, and Mr. Chong, you would know this well, if you have 2 criminal statutes, so laws, that basically if you get found guilty of one, but it's similar to another one, then and the other one carries a lesser sentence, like you go to prison less, then the judge has to sentence you to that less sentence. And so when we did sex trafficking law, one of the bills, we did a higher crime, so basically you go to prison for a longer time, but it was similar to another law, and so we had to kind of come back and fix things like that.
Thank you, Representative Hong. I've got a question from a student from Chattahoochee High School. Oh my. That's where I went to high school. For Professor Chang, the student asks, I want to major in MSE. I don't know what that is. It's probably something engineering, I assume. But to study more about environmentally friendly materials, ultimately to solve health disparities, wow, big words, existing in underrepresented communities as one of the consequences from environmental racism. Therefore, I want to ask your opinion as MSc professor, now I know what MSc is, MSc professor, over the next 10 years, what global changes do you think materials engineering must address and can be a solution for?
Yeah, it works now. Thank you. So, yeah, the MSc, go for it. You know, I'm an MSc professor. No problem. It's material science and engineering. The name is really, the name means a lot because we study materials for our civilization, not only civilization, the entire environment, including climate and also the resources. So let's say if we see the 10 years from now, I mean it is already very important in our society, but it will be even more important in the near future, which is first energy. So we have fossil fuel based energy technology, but as we know, so we have solar energy. We need the solar energy and also the fuel cell or battery type of new energies. So they already started in our civilization, but it will be developed more and more. So basically, I'm using electric vehicle, but I have one question: why do I spend so long time to charge my car? So if it is resolved, then I will love my electric vehicle even further. So and so on. And then environment, so CO2, all those, also the human-made contaminants in the nature, they are now very, very risky factor for us, for our next generation, the environmental contaminations and also the damages. So frankly, the scientists in that field, they made very pessimistic, prediction, so within 10 years or 20 years. So now the MSc, so we developed new material to capture those contaminants very efficiently, and then try to recover our beautiful human, the beautiful Mother Earth, also nature. So yeah, that is going on. So energy and environment, and another really new one is the material for agriculture. So in US it is not quite significant, but other countries, they suffer the hunger. So then, how can we improve our productivity of the agricultural product? And then, there are some number of things. Not only nutrition to the soil. So there is also, recover the soil to be better soil for other plant or other sort of ecological, the biological, the life forms. So energy and the environment, and then actually food, agricultural technology. So these are three, and then it has been always big issue, the medical material. So Professor Chu, cycling, so he can give you much better idea, I believe. But actually, in my department, MSc, we try to develop a sort of better material for our human body. For example, if I broke my bone, and then titanium type of metal material is very popular to replace the broken part, and also inner organ. So there is man-made, some material, soft material, also even man-made skin, man-made human cornea type of things. So that's the last part I'd like to say, biomedical material. So if you have more questions, please join the the session later, so then we can have some more deep discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. The next question is for Ms. Kim, Eunice Kim. The question was from another student from Chattahoochee High School. It must be like a Chattahoochee High School reunion today. I am interested in architecture and civil engineering, but I haven't been confident if I want to major into it or pursue a career. I love art and designing with creativity. I want to ask what would can't read the next word. What would you recommend me as a 9th grader in order to explore this career?
Sure, great question. So I did not know that I wanted to major in architecture until later on. And so I did art history and economics. So it depends. So you're a 9th grader. So I didn't know I wanted to become an architect until junior year in college. And so if you are undecided and want to explore, there are 5-year professional degree programs that you can go into if you know you wanted to be an architect. But the program that I went into at Columbia is a 4-year bachelor's program. And so you can major in architecture, you can major in civil engineering, you can major in art, and then you could choose to go to graduate school. And I went to graduate school to get a Master of Architecture at Columbia University, and that's a 3-year program, and that gets you on a trajectory to become an architect. So I advise you maybe perhaps apply to a school that doesn't have a 5-year professional degree program where it locks you in, but then go to Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor's of Science 4-year program, and then apply to a graduate school program. And I also wanted to say, if you're interested in architecture because it's scientific and creative, what I ended up doing is real estate development. And I practiced architecture for a while, and then I switched into becoming the client. And I still work with engineers and architects, and so it really depends whether you want to be really hands-on or you want to be a decision maker, so it depends on the personality. But real estate development is something that people don't really know about later on. It's different from being a realtor. It's like commercial real estate development, and you work with so many different stakeholders, and it's very interesting. So I can talk to you about that as well.
Thank you so much. From Lambert High School, the question was intended for myself. Of the biggest challenge of working as a district attorney or a prosecutor. And this is not to discourage anyone from seeking a public service career, particularly in prosecution, because I do think it's a noble career and a noble undertaking. But as a prosecutor, so I started prosecuting, starting out with speeding offenses, the lighthearted stuff. Oh, you were speeding, you were going 45 in a 25, you were going 90 in a 70, and so forth. And then eventually it got to just, now my cases consist of people getting killed or people being raped. So the problem is then you are surrounded by negative topics constantly from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. whenever you get out of the office. So all day long you see pictures of dead bodies and killed bodies. All day long you meet women who are raped and who are crying in front of you. All day long you're surrounded by family members who are enraged and upset that this undeserving crime happened to them. So you're constantly in this darkness, and that is the biggest negative of being a prosecutor. It's because you are constantly around and have to be surrounded by those who are grieving and upset. But with that being said, there is also on the other side of the equation of being able to deliver justice for those who are in the section of grieving, and there's many instances where those people have repeatedly, some of them even years after the offender was convicted, write me letters or come back to see me at the office, even for a case that may occur as long as 2018. But then on the flip side, another negative occurs where if you are not, and because you probably as a professional would blame yourself, if you were not able to bring the offender into justice, so for example, you don't win every fight you get into. Just like Michael Jordan hasn't won every playoff game, Tiger Woods hasn't won every PGA tournaments he's played in, Tom Brady has not won every Super Bowl. So even as prosecutors, we lose murder trials. So I've lost a few myself, and the feeling of having, because of yourself, somebody got to kill someone for free. That kind of responsibility is a heavy weight to shoulder. But this is not to discourage, because there's so many good days that vastly outnumber the bad days in the job. But just like everybody here who hold very important positions, with great important position also comes, as cheesy as it sounds, great responsibility, and the failure to execute then becomes great consequences. So if all of you I know want to be in a position that carries great consequence, and the negatives are going to come with that. But again, there's so many positives. I'm happy to share that with you in any breakout sessions. Is there anybody who wants to actually in live ask a question? Anyone? I mean, because I'm saving one last written question right now before we jump into the 3 p.m. breakout group. No? Nobody can muster up the courage? All right, maybe after the breakout sessions. Ms. Hong, you ready? The question is, what are some challenges that occur while representing and speaking for a diverse constituency with differing opinions and values? How are you able to reconcile these values?
Very good question. I wish I knew who asked those questions, because these have been really good questions, so you guys don't be shy. So obviously I'm elected by my constituents, and I represent the people that voted for me. But I also see that the laws that we enact is also for all Georgians as well. And so, we get emails. I probably get emails, hundreds of emails a day, especially during session. So we go down to the Capitol from January to end of March or beginning of April, and we work every day passing laws. And we probably get hundreds of emails on certain bills every single day, phone calls, people text me, people call me, and I keep up with the people that are reaching out that I represent in my district. There are obviously certain things that I believe in and that I ran on when I was campaigning as well. And I won my district because majority of the people in my district believe what I believed and what I campaigned on as well. And so there are certain bills that are very tough. And I do look at and listen to the people that are in my district that reach out. But also, for the most part, unlike Congress and up in federal government, for the state government, we pass bills on a majority of the bills that we pass are agreed upon by both parties and agreed upon to make Georgia better. And so we don't really have too many bills that we fight over. We fight over making it better or changing certain language, but for the most part, we pass bills that we all agree upon. So, and to say that just because you're in high school or maybe not able to vote yet doesn't mean that your voice can't be heard either. And it's important that you guys can also reach out to your state representative and senators and congressmen. If you see something that you're passionate about or you see a bill and you want to make your voice heard, I do have high school students that reach out to me all the time, college students that reach out to me all the time about different issues. So get active, and if you're passionate about something, reach out to me if you want, and reach out to your legislators.